Hey friends! I don't know if I sound different to you guys. I definitely feel like I sound different to myself. But a lot. There's so much that went on this week. I almost skipped this week and then I thought, you know what? That's nuts because so much has happened that I'll never catch up if I don't tell you guys all about it now. So this is the week 36 update, but I'm recording this late. I'm actually 36 weeks and change right now. And the reason I sound odd, I think, is because I'm on day 10 of having a very, very, very bad cold. Actually, my best friend's son had the exact same symptoms as me. He got checked out and they told him through blood work that he has something called coronavirus OC43. Now, coronavirus is a catch-all term for cold. So it's not to say that it's COVID, but it is a very, very bad cold that's almost exclusively upper respiratory. At least for me it's been. And yeah, I've had a very hard time for over a week now with a really, really bad cough, throat pain from the coughing. I've even been throwing up because of how hard I've been coughing. And believe it or not, I'm on a huge upswing right now. I'm feeling so much better today than I have been, but I'm just still feeling like crap. So we had an OB appointment in this past week. We're actually officially now doing weekly OB appointments. We're at that stage. And we saw the OB early in the morning, which we typically don't. We typically see her later in the day. But our appointment was early in the morning this time. And, we chatted. Everything was good. She took out the Doppler to listen to baby's heartbeat like she always does. And she tells me very calmly, I'm going to suggest that you go to the hospital from here. Because baby's heart rate is in the 180s. And we never want to see it over 160. And it's probably just because you're sick. She's probably just fine. But I still think it would be a good idea to get checked out because that's not good. So we decided to take advantage. My mom was staying with kiddo. So we decided to take advantage and drive all the way to the hospital where I'm meant to deliver, which is very, very, very far away. We learned that at a good time of day where there's zero traffic, it'll take us about 50 minutes to get there from our house. So good to know, right? And we got an opportunity also to check the facility out, see where we're supposed to park, see where we're supposed to enter, etc. Things that we don't want to have to be figuring out on the day of when I'm just trying to survive. Not the time to get our bearings about where we have to park our car. So if nothing else, that was the opportunity for that. The staff was super, super nice. It did take ages to do anything there. Everything took way longer than at the hospital that I usually go to, which is actually where I delivered my son last time, because it's much closer to our house. But the staff was super nice, and they did a flu swab and a COVID swab, and it all came back negative. They did urinalysis, blood analysis. Or did they take blood that day? They did take blood, I think. But everything, I guess, seemed fine, or whatever they tested was fine, because they didn't give me any update on that. They put me on the monitor for a good long while, and at no point was baby's heart rate high. So they let me know that the coughing actually can make her tachycardic, so it can make her heart rate elevate, but then it comes back down. And actually that's a good thing. They want to see it respond and then come back. So they couldn't really do anything for me, but they said, at least as far as baby's concerned, don't worry, she's fine. So they sent me home. Oh, but not before not before doing a scan and letting me know that she's breech, right? So back to breech after being so excited that she was head down again. And so they send me home. I have a couple miserable days at home. And then 2 days later, late at night, I tell my husband, I think I need to get checked out again because the cough's been out of control, and also it so happens that today I've barely felt baby move. So I think for peace of mind I have to go and get checked out just to make sure she's all right. So we go and do that. Of course, the moment we set foot in the hospital, this time we went to the hospital near our house, and the moment we set foot in the hospital, the little girl starts dancing up a storm. So once again, they put me on the monitors. She's good. And they do another scan, so 2 scans this week, and she's head down again. So, okay. Ending the week as we started the week with baby in perfect position. And again, they're talking about how I might need to be on albuterol, how I could have pneumonia because my lungs sound crackly, how I should probably do a chest x-ray, etc., etc. All they can do at labor and delivery is check on baby, but what they'll do is that once baby's okay, they'll send me downstairs to the typical ER and have me go through all of that process. But they basically just, when the time came, they were like, oh, you're good to go, bye, and they sent me home. So, okay, I talked to my doula because I had a meeting with her, and actually that was a very in-depth meeting, so I want to talk about that a little bit, but I'll circle back to it. She suggested that I take ginger tea, and which I typically really don't like, but it is very good for when your throat's icky. So there was that, and then at the hospital they told me that I could take Robitussin DM, like the most typical generic, like no extras on it. Robitussin should be safe, which I really didn't want to do because I've been fighting taking medications, period. Just typically in life, but especially while pregnant. But I gave in. We bought Robitussin. I've taken 3 doses in the 4 or 5 days since that hospital visit, and it did help me sleep the 3 nights that I took it, but the 3rd night it really didn't help as much, so I decided, you know what, I'm just not going to do that anymore. I'm going to stick to the ginger tea. Then I learned that about this time in pregnancy you should stop drinking ginger tea because it could put you into labor. So pretty much I'm just staying hydrated. I'm taking extra zinc, and that's pretty much that. So the very, very good news is that so far, even 10 days in, it's just me. Hubby's fine and kiddo's fine, thank goodness. Not just because I don't want to have to be worried about them, but because if they get sick now and they start on a 2-week situation where they're sick, then potentially one or both of them might be sick when baby girl arrives, depending on when baby girl decides to make her grand entrance, and that would complicate things. So I'm just trying really hard to make sure that they stay fine. But all that to say that on my typical recording day, which was the day I turned 36 weeks, I could barely muster up enough voice to just get through the day, let alone to sit in front of the camera and chat with you guys. So hence the delay. Not that you guys know because you're still getting the video on the regular weekly interval, but it's a matter of fact that I'm recording late. Speaking of the doula, so I asked her what was safe for congestion and cough, etc. We already talked about that. I let her know that I was having severe hot flashes all week, and I was sweating like crazy. I could feel the sweat like beating on my scalp even. It was miserable, and she told me that it's possible some of it was due to the cold, and it was also possible that some of it was due to just it being the 3rd trimester. It's a hormonal thing. It happens. So once I was feeling better, we'll see how much of it was the cold and how much of it is just the 3rd trimester. And I will say that now that I am on a bit of an upswing from the cold, I am less tolerant of the heat overall, but I'm not having those wild hot flashes where I'm suddenly sweating and needing to rip my clothes off like I was this whole past week. So I'm gonna guess that mostly that was due to the cold. Not all, but mostly. She sent me a bunch of videos too on like things I could do on the birth ball now to start preparing my body for labor. And she sent me a video or 2 about something called the Miles circuit, but she told me to hold off on those exercises because apparently these are exercises that are meant to jumpstart your labor. I don't know how accurate that is, but worth a try, I guess, once I get past 37, 38 weeks. I also had terrible sciatica. I probably mentioned it in the last episode because I feel like that's been going on for a long, long, long time. But once they told me the first time we went to the hospital, because remember, I've been to the hospital twice this week. The first time they went to the hospital and they told me that she was breech again, I thought to myself, well, then it's not her causing this pain in my hip and my back, because I'm here thinking I'll deal with the pain as long as she stays in the appropriate position. But she wasn't in the appropriate position anymore, so something else must be causing my back pain. So I messed around a little bit and I reconfigured all of the stuff that I usually sleep with, like all the pillows and like a cushion between my knees and this and that. So basically I changed out the cushion for a firmer and bigger one so that my knees had more support while I slept, and therefore my hips. And that's made a world of difference. So I don't think it was sciatica after all, which makes sense because with my son, I did have sciatica and I felt it like in my hip, down to my knee would lock, I would feel it all the way down to my foot, and I wasn't experiencing that this time. I was having excruciating pain when I stood, and especially when I walked for at least a couple of weeks, but it was exclusively in my hip. So I'm glad actually that she moved. I'm more glad that she moved back to regular position that we want her in, but I'm happy for that because it got me to like start thinking like, okay, well, if not this, then what is it? And I was able to come to a conclusion that helped. What I'm having now is really bad upper back pain. And I think that's just typical discomfort at this point because my posture's terrible. I'm like leaning back most of the time to counterbalance the weight of my belly, and it's screwing up my back. Sitting is comfortable for the most part, depending on how I'm sitting. Laying is elite. But when I lay, I cough more. So I have to keep finding balance. Not that kiddo gives me too much opportunity to just like lay all day. I'm obviously up and like doing stuff too. But I'm having to balance how much time I spend laying, because as much as my back insists that I lay, the coughing demands that I sit up. So we're kind of just dealing with that. And yeah, so I was also offered, I just saw in my notes, I was offered at week 36 at that OB appointment, which was the one where she sent me straight to the hospital after that. I was offered a cervical check and I declined it because at this point I'm probably not dilated, etc. And I know that every time you get a cervical check, there's a potential for infection. There's the potential for, whoops, a membrane sweep. And now suddenly you're starting an induction process that I don't want, especially so early. So potentially as we get closer to my due date, I might do that even outside of labor. But my plan is to try to decline as many cervical checks as possible until I absolutely must have them. Not just to keep things antibacterial, so to speak. That's not the right word, but try to keep things as low risk, low infection as possible. But also so that I'm not in my head about, oh my gosh, I'm already this many weeks along and I still haven't dilated. I still haven't, like, I don't want to get myself discouraged before labor's even begun. So as of this moment, there's really not a reason to do a cervical check. And so until there is a reason, I will continue to decline them. I think I've caught you all up because, again, I'm 36 weeks and change now, and other stuff has happened since I turned 36 weeks, but I don't want to get into that stuff because that's stuff that should really go into the 37-week video. So let me show you the bellies right now, and then I'll go through the app stuff like usual. So there's my darling baby girl in all of her glory. I'm feeling quite round and big and large. And yeah, she's been moving quite intensely for the last little while. But again, we'll talk more about that, I guess, in next week's update. So, for 36 weeks, apparently, little girl is now as big as a Tickle Me Elmo doll. Like the toy in the 90s. She's as big as one of those. As big as a dartboard. As big as 2 movie-sized tubs of popcorn. Okay. As big as a bunch of kale. I guess a bunch of kale's pretty big. As big as Rapunzel's lantern. And as big as the microphone on stage in the movie Sing. Okay. I think the Tickle Me Elmo is probably the best one because I've actually seen and felt and held one of those. So I know exactly the dimensions and heft of one. So if you're 36 weeks pregnant, you're in month 9. Officially, we're in the last month of pregnancy. We're 9 months pregnant now. Only a few weeks left to go. Baby is probably about 6 pounds now and about 18 to 19 inches long. Growth will slow down in the coming weeks, both so your baby will be able to fit through the narrow passageway to the outside and so that she could store up all the energy needed for delivery. It's saying that most of baby systems are pretty mature, at least in baby terms, but the digestive system is apparently the one that still requires a few last finishing touches. It actually won't be fully mature until sometime after birth. Okay, so there's that. And then by week 36, you're doing a penguin waddle that many third trimester moms to be adopt. Yeah. I thought it was just the limp from the sciatica, but now that the sciatica, or whatever it was, has kind of subsided, I am very much waddling. Pelvic pain. Yeah, add pressure from your baby's head burrowing deeper and deeper into your pelvis and your heavier uterus, weighing you down, and it's no wonder it's a pain to walk around these days. Yeah, getting lots of lightning crotch, which is so unfortunately named, but that's not really like a new thing. However, it's happening more frequently lately. Again, I'll talk about that in week 37 because it really is more of a week 37 type thing, what I've been experiencing. And bionic hearing. Your baby's ears are extra sharp during these last few weeks. Studies show she may even recognize your voice and favorite songs after birth. They keep talking about how the baby might drop into my pelvis this week in what is called the lightning or the dropping. I don't know if that's happened. I guess I would require a third party, like an objective set of eyes looking at me and letting me know, like, does my belly look lower to you? Because I guess I kind of see it, but I also kind of don't. But yeah, supposedly that's one of those things that's happening this week. And yeah, so in the coming week, or this week I should say, that I'm currently in, we do have a scan, another scan coming up. And I believe we have another OB. We should have another OB, right? This week? Yes, we do. That's right, because like I just said earlier in the video, we're having weekly OB visits now. So, exciting stuff. There will be plenty to talk about in the next update for sure. But yeah, that's catching you up on week 36. And now I need to rest my throat and voice. So, here's hoping that by the next time you guys see me, I've completely kicked this. And more good news, more great updates. Let's hope that baby is still in appropriate birth ready, head down position. And we will chat again very, very, very soon. It's going to feel even sooner for me because just a few days before I have to record week 37. But in a week, we'll talk again. So for now, thanks for being here. Thanks for watching. And we'll chat again really, really soon. Bye!